line.
Let the experts at Cardinal Realty Solutions help you with your Middle Tennessee real estate needs.
Cardinal went over the process, so we knew what to expect.
Find a realtor you can trust.
They made it less stressful
At CardinalRealtySolutions.com.
Rutherford Issues with Brian Barrett on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and streaming at WGNSradio.com.
Well, on today's show, we're going to head to the state capitol. That's where we find State Representative Mike Sparks, and a busy legislative session getting ready to wrap up here in the next day or two, I guess. Mike, pretty busy on the Hill, I guess, today.
Yeah, we are. We got up here this morning at 8:30. Left out last night. I believe it was 7. I think when we left last night. We left about 7 o'clock. But yeah, I've just come over here, stepped out of the Capitol, a little old break room. I guess there's a little break room here under the stairwell up here in the gallery, you know. But yeah, we wrapped up the budget yesterday. That was $56.2 billion budget, and I think we're making progress. There's still a lot of needs out there that we'll still need to address to next year as well. You know, there's always something going on, as you know, Brian.
Well, most definitely, we're going to talk about a few of the things, maybe even distractions and all that kind of thing that we've had to deal with this session. But on that budget, what was there? Maybe explain a few of the key points. You sent me a text about salary increases for teachers. Yeah,
you know, one thing that I've had a few teachers reach out to me, and kudos to the local Rutherford County LEA, our school board, as well as the county commission for funding raises at the locally as well. The state, we've allocated $125 million for raises, and I believe that is historic. I don't think we've ever had that much allotted to teacher raises. So I've gotten a few emails or texts from teachers this morning about that when they heard about it. $250 million we're putting towards the rainy day fund to bring us a total of $2 billion. That sounds like a lot of money, which it is, but in the scheme of $56.2 billion budget, it may not be, you know. So we're in good shape as far as being fiscally prudent. School safety, we're allocating $140 million for an SRO in each public school at $75,000 a year. $40 million to school safety grants for public schools. The governor's budget included $20 million and another $14 million non-recurring for school safety grants for non-public schools that they can utilize. So school safety has been not only a priority for the legislature, but a priority for Governor Lee's administration at all as well. But the governor's, he had an amendment that included another $7 million and $29 million to fund 122 positions with the Department of Homeland Security for school safety, and they should have a Homeland Security officer for each county. And it looks like there's some additional positions that would probably go to something like Metro and Memphis and the big four counties as well.
Mm-hmm. So just so I understand this about the teacher salaries, the Department of Education adopted a $40,000 minimum salary for teachers. Is that correct?
Well, they're shooting for $50,000 dollars. That was some big discussion here. Representative Scotty Campbell out of East Tennessee brought up. You know, a lot of us are concerned about the locals. I mean, we don't want to pass something and then mandate the locals have to pick up on it or match it. And he was concerned with the locals being able to fulfill that $50,000 salary in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, it probably wouldn't be a huge deal in, you know, your major areas with lots of population, but smaller counties, it could be tougher on them.
You know, it is. And one thing that is, you know, I think most people know Tennessee's we're really 3 states in one. I mean, East Tennessee is totally different than West Tennessee. Middle Tennessee, we've got a little bit of both, just being sandwiched here. So the needs are all different. We just had a piece of legislation offering grants for local EMS and volunteer firefighter departments. And, we're pretty, as you know, we're very blessed in Rutherford County, but some of these rural areas still have a lot of hurts. I mean, some of them probably wish they had the growing pains like we do with trying to keep up with building roads and schools and EMS as well. But a lot of folks might be interested in the TISA funding formula for salary increases and health insurance, retirement, and other areas with the new funding formula, education funding formula, which took the place of DEP formula. It's $350 million that's recurring, and that brings the TISA funding formula to more than $1 billion. So we're earmarking more money for education at historic levels. $1 billion for vocational schools to expand TCATs. And, we're very blessed in Murfreesboro and Smyrna to have our TCATs, the new one on Sergeant Asbury Hahn Way, my late friend that was killed in Iraq, fighting for this country. Never want to forget him. But the summer camps, a lot of the summer tutoring has been a concern for many parents and educators. There's $10 million there for summer transportation grants to local governments to help get the kids to the summer camps. $7.6 million that's recurring to fund tutoring services for K through 3 of students that are being potentially retained. We're on a 3rd grade reading bill. As I speak to you, we're on Mark White's piece of legislation, trying to have some tweaks on that. But $1.3 million for market rate adjustments for teachers on Department of Education special schools. $15.5 million recurring to hold locals harmless to fund 6 weeks of paid family leave for teachers. That's really a huge benefit for educators that have had a child. We just had our first grandbaby, so my daughter-in-law works for Vanderbilt's nurse, so she's been able to take advantage of being off and spending time with that new grandbaby Grace that we have. But also tax cuts of $407 million, which is the largest tax cut in Tennessee's history. And there's numerous items I could go through. $3 billion for the Governor's Transportation Modernization Fund. I know Greg Brooks and Keith Bratcher, Commissioner Johnson will be excited for this new monies. Also $300 million for state aid road programs that will benefit, as well as $76.7 for transportation equity to fund our airports. We're getting 142 new troopers across the state and numerous other investments in public safeties. That's public safety as well.
Yeah, we've got State Representative Mike Sparks joining us today from the state capitol, and we did mention at the top of this that you're hoping to wrap up, not you personally, I guess, but the lawmakers are hoping to have their business for the session finished tomorrow, or maybe even a Saturday get-together, huh?
Yes. It's really challenging trying to get through here and hear everything. I mean, I had a psych bill that got moved to next year. I had some powerful lobbyists come in here and work against me. I'm a little pissed off about that, to be quite blunt about it. Mental health is a serious issue, whether it's that Covenant School shooting, the deranged transgender who killed Christians. That doesn't seem to fit the narrative today. They blame it on guns. And yes, there's some issues with public safety, no doubt, but my bill that would have improved the streamlining process to get people mental health leaving our ERs was moved to next year. So I'm very disappointed about that. I've reached out to the governor's office to see if he can somehow bring that to life, part of his comprehensive mental health plan, public safety plan. Mental health is a serious issue as we're seeing it with these school shootings and other violence. And like I heard Dr. Brian Terry saying at the meeting of the day, he was at the Oklahoma City bombing, and that guy killed, I forgot how many people lost their lives with that bombing there. So some of these people that are battling some type of mental health, I mean, they're going to accomplish their goal, whether it's using a car to run down folks or guns or knives or, God forbid, bombing or something like that. So we do have an issue. I think most people are wanting to address it. But one thing I've learned about the Tennessee General Assembly, you don't always get what you want. Sometimes it takes a couple of years to get legislation passed. So hopefully, with the governor's help, maybe he can help me bring some focus on this psych bed streamlining piece of legislation that I have this year.
Well, Mike, since you mentioned the governor and mental health, he is calling on lawmakers to pass a bill that would create protections for, I guess, gun ownership. It's being called red flag protections. Don't really, I think it maybe loses a little bit of that effect, but just overall, your thoughts on that? I know it's been met with some pushback, so do you think that's going to be considered?
Well, yeah, I'm not sure the posture where that's at. We're focused on these other bills that we've got. One thing that we've got to realize is we've got a serious problem on our hands. I mean, we're not going to be able to go put officers on every school bus, on every playground. I mean, just funding these SROs in every school, it's costing the taxpayers, I mean, millions and millions of dollars. The locals don't have it. It's totally unsustainable. So, that's what I had two bills that would address some of these issues. My gun safe bill didn't get funded on the Senate side. Don't know what's going on with them over there. They dropped the ball. And some folks think it's because they don't want to take up any gun bills. And since my bill mentions gun safes, that maybe it got lumped in there. It makes me just fight mad. It makes me just want to go off, because even the some of these parents come by to see me. They knew some of these victims of the shooting. They come by and met with me, and that was part of their concerns was firearm safety, locking up firearms. You've heard me say I went to Kyle Yorlet, the young musician that was shot by about four little kids, about 14 to 15, and he was shot with a stolen gun. We know that this legislation that I passed 2 years ago is working. Mark Bradfield, the owner of the Safe House, who sells gun safes over on 4th Avenue, Mark was going to testify before committee, and then all of a sudden we see where the Senate wasn't taking it up. Mark's sales has vastly increased, so we know this piece of legislation is working. The psych bed bill, I told the governor's staff, if the governor calls Tennessee Hospital Association and says, look, we need to start working on this, we don't need legislation. If the governor makes the phone call, it's done. I can't do that as one person, other than just, it's so frustrating sometimes. But I got two bills right now that can help address this situation. But sadly, some folks won't listen to high-power lobbyists and not their constituents.
Well, Mike, I know that there's been a lot on school safety and guns and all of that kind of thing, and with the Covenant school shooting situation that went on, and you and I haven't had a chance to talk since the week after, when 3 Democratic lawmakers took to the well. And I know that was very well publicized. It made national news. And your thoughts on that? Anything you want to tell your constituents?
One thing that just frustrates me. I'm gonna be my own man. I'm not gonna follow, be some of these yes man. I never was that way. The county commission wasn't that way on the planning committee, and I don't plan on being that way up here in General Assembly. But what I said this on an interview here recently with somebody. These folks they're playing chess and we're playing checkers. They're looking out 20 years. Some of the people up here are looking at next week, tomorrow, and maybe next year. These folks are after the next generation. And if I'm the only one that sees this, then something's wrong. All this transgender stuff, this is mental health. This is mental health. We just had a bill today that I spoke on, and I brought up my sister Vicky, that's sadly in a nursing home. She's a star athlete, MVP at Smyrna High School, star athlete at volleyball, and sadly, she had that brain tumor. I went to see her last night. But there's no way my sister is going to be able to compete against. I just brought up Scott Sapicki because he's 6'3" and like 250, star athlete, played professional ball. My sister would stand out, but there's no way she can compete with him. There's no way a female is going to compete with, or a male is going to compete with a female, whether it's swimming or whether it's, baseball or football. And this is ridiculous that we're even having these conversations. And this is the time that we're in. So the mental health, I don't have the answers to how we address this, but here's what disappoints me with the media. When they make it all about guns and they never talk about the mental health of that transgender student who killed Christians. That's persecution. That's a hate crime, but nobody seems to talk about hate crimes. Phil Williams is not that's not part of his narrative. But we've got to get back to telling the truth of what's going on, and it's a serious mental health problem, and I just don't want to see that happen again, and especially not happen in our community.
Well, in terms of the lawmakers, a lot of people are saying, what difference did it make for them, 2 of the 3 to be expelled? They're right back there. Your thoughts on that? Was it a correct statement to make by the state legislature?
Well, that goes back to my premise. I mean, I told folks, I said, we're just going to create martyrs out of him. We're just going to create martyrs out of it. And that's what we've done. I mean, Representative Justin Jones sits behind me, and he's going to meet with Biden Monday. But John DeBerry, who they seem to never talk about, they took John off the ballot. The Democratic Party took John DeBerry off the ballot. Remember, he marched with Dr. King. And I had John on the radio with me last Sunday before last, and I said, John, you think this is part of a plan? I had to get rid of you because you knew Dr. King. I mean, he was at the mountaintop speech. They had to get rid of John to pave the way for these others to change the narrative where it's all about racism. It's all about racism. And they do that to divide and divide and divide. John DeBerry didn't want to divide. Dr. King didn't want to divide. Dr. King tried to bring people together. Yeah, he fought against things that need to be fought against and raise awareness. Sometimes we need that, but we can't have divisiveness where people run to the well, grab bullhorn, start beating on the podium up here, and then hollering in the crowd what I thought was inciting violence. No justice, no peace. I mean, that's not civility. I've never seen that at the county commission, never seen that at the school board. I mean, people may, every now and then yell out if they're upset about a rezone request or mask or something like that. But I've never seen anybody run to the well and grab bullhorns, and all that was premeditated. All that was set up. So, I voted to expel the 2 men because they had bullhorns. The female didn't have a bullhorn, and also the accusations they put on paper in the House resolution did not fit what she didn't do what they said she did. So I was one of the lone guys that didn't vote to expel her. But you got to remember, this woman that they want to expel as well, she's a former school teacher, 30 years. She also witnessed a school shooting. So she's genuinely passionate, but the punishment that they're accusing her of didn't fit the crime in my books. And I'm not going to be a party guy where I'm just a yes man to the governor, or yes man. I'm going to look at the evidence just like a good judge would and make my ruling after I hear all the discussion.
Well, I've only got a couple of seconds here, but there are some that argue that you said made martyrs of them, and the fact that the 2 male lawmakers that were expelled were African American. So you add that together with the lone white woman not being expelled, and it was just kind of like a cattle cave of just bad thing after bad thing, and the looks are the looks.
It's all a setup. I mean, I'm hoping your listeners understand this is a setup. This is all pre-planned. Like Kamala Harris to Flan, all that was pre-planned. I promise you. All this was pre-planned. I wish we had, some more time because I don't know if John's willing to. I think, he shared on the radio with me the other day. It's all pre-planned. It's all orchestrated, and I happen to see it. Some of the people see it, but the media, the mainstream media doesn't really tell you the truth. They have an agenda. Their agenda is to divide. Sometimes they have some good news stories, but many times when it comes up here, they're not going to tell you about my psych bed bill. They're not going to tell you about this gun bill. They're not going to tell you about all these other improvements. Now, 1005 did cover the teacher raises, so hats off to them.
All right, Mike. Well, we got to run, though. I'm sorry.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
All right, take care.
We'll talk soon. State Representative Mike Sparks joining us here on the show today from the state capitol.
This is Lenny Farmer with Jennings & Ayers Funeral Home. Did you know that you can plan your funeral in advance